his perspective on the minorities status in the Bangladesh. I request now the Karunalankar Bhikkhu to give the horizons, the nature of the problem, the casualties, the big canvas and history of the Chittagong Hill Tract, which constitute the 3 districts in the Bangladesh. I request Karunalankar Bhikkhu to come on the stage and share the.
हमारा डॉक्टर सत्यनारायण जाति जी आया नहीं, तो उन्होंने बाहर गया, तो इसलिए तो अभी मैं ऑनरेबल चेयरमैन ऑफ श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी रिसर्च फाउंडेशन डॉक्टर अनिर्बान गांगुली जी, चेयरमैन ऑफ प्रज्ञा स्पिरिचुअल फाउंडेशन मैडम सोमिया जी, प्रोफेसर ऑफ दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी डॉक्टर Omid Srivastava, social and human rights activist Dr. Subodh Kumar ji, esteemed media representatives and friends. I welcome you all and extend my sincere thanks to you I welcome you all and extend my sincere thanks to you for your participation in and support to our today's event on indigenous challenges to Chittagong Hill Tracts Peace Accord and Hindus, Buddhists and minorities of Bangladesh. Next page. CST historical background. CST is the home of 11 indigenous groups, including the dominant group, the Chakma. These indigenous groups had been independent under their chiefs, Rajas, since time immemorial. The British colonized CST and annexed it with British India in 1860s. It paved the way of migration of few Muslim farmers and businessmen into CST. The British declared the region as an excluded area in 1900 through an Annex Act called CST Regulation of 1900. The regulation restricts non-indigenous people in possessing lands and settling permanently in CST. During the partition of India, CST indigenous people was 98.5% and non-indigenous population was 15%. This is the region where CST people led by Sneho Kumar Chakma joined India and hosted Indian flag in Tangamati on 15 August 1947. However, Bengal Boundary Commission chaired by Charles Cyril Ratcliffe declared the region to be part of East Pakistan. As a result, Pakistani military occupied it with force on 20 August 1947. Pakistan government built the capital dam in CST in early 1960s. 40% agricultural land of CST was inundated and 1 lakh Chakmas were displaced, some of whom were forced to migrate to India, Arunachal, for life and livelihood. East Pakistan emerged as independent Bangladesh in 1971. Manavendra Narayan Larma from CST elected as Member of Parliament and demanded constitutional recognition of the identity of indigenous groups and autonomy for them in CST in 1972. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman rejected his demand and advised him to be Muslim Bengali. He left the parliament and launched an armed struggle for his demand. Bangladesh policy on CST, Islamic demographic invasion and ethnic cleansing. As part of this policy, military ruler Ziaur Rahman sponsored the settlement of more than 5 lakh Muslims settled from various regions of Bangladesh in CST in 1980s. Change in CST demographic composition. 1947, 98.5% indigenous and 1.5 non-indigenous Muslims. 1971, 94% indigenous and 6% non-indigenous. 1981, 60% non-indigenous and 40% non-indigenous. 1991, 50% indigenous and 50% non-indigenous. 221-24, Statistics Department banned population data. About 45% indigenous and now 65% non-indigenous. Now Muslim invaders are rulers of CST in violation of 1900 CST regulation and CST Accord of 1997. Bangladeshi militarization in CST. CST seems to be the most militarized zone in the world. One Bangladeshi soldiers behind 6 indigenous people. According to CST Commission Report 1991, CST is under military rule. Military. There are 4 brigades under the 24th Infantry Division in Chittagong. Among them, 1 artillery brigade and 3 infantry brigades. The location of those brigades are 24th Artillery Brigade Guimara, 203rd Infantry Brigade Khagrasuri, 305th Infantry Brigade Rangamati, and 69th Infantry Brigade Bandarban. And there are 4 artillery battalions and 17 infantry battalions under these 4 brigades. In addition, 2 engineering battalions, 2 field ambulance, and 1 naval base in Rangamati. Paramilitary forces. There are 21 BGB, Border Guard of Bangladesh, battalions under the 4 BGB sector, Khagrasuri, Guimara, Rangamati, and Bandarban. 6 Armed Police Battalion, 3 Mountain Police Battalion, 17 Ansar Battalions, and 400 BTB platoons. Police, 36 police stations with 6 police circles. Why so much Bangladeshi forces in CST? Military forces help Dhaka implement its policy of ethnic cleansing of indigenous people with Islamic demographic invasion, provide security to Muslim settlers, invading CST and grabbing land and other resources of indigenous people through communal attack, force and various illegal and unfair means. Fallout of militarization and Islamic demographic invasion in CST. Demographic pressure on indigenous people. Land alienation of indigenous people. Communal attack, setting fire on indigenous houses, temples, economic activities, centers such as recent Dignala attack on 19 September 2024 and Khagrasuri Rangamati attack on 20 September 2024. In 1980s, Bangladesh military and Muslim settlers perpetrated hundreds of genocides, including 13 major genocides against indigenous people with a complete impunity. Widespread human rights violations like rape, arrest, torture, extrajudicial killing, genocide, etc. Religious persecution, political, economic, and cultural marginalization, indigenous people losing the invader in all of election. Islam state religion in Bangladesh Constitution. Islam was declared state religion of Bangladesh in 1988. Hasina government reaffirmed it and declared Bangla as a state language, Bangladeshi citizens as Bengali, and indigenous people a small ethnic group through a constitutional amendment in 2015. Constitution does not recognize indigenous peoples and their right and ethnic, linguistic, religious, and cultural identity. It imposes Bengali Muslim identity on them. Practically, Bangladesh Constitution makes Bangladesh an exclusive country for Islam and Bengali Muslim. It does not recognize and respect the rights and identity of indigenous people and religious minorities. It is based on state religion, inequality, and discrimination. Challenges to CST Accord. CST Accord signed between PCJSS and Government of Bangladesh led by PM Sheikh Hasina on 2nd December 1997. The key provision of the accord, such as empowerment of local government, return of indigenous people land grabs by military and Muslim settlers, and ensuring the right to land of indigenous people, withdrawal of military rules, and over 500 temporary military camps from CST. Formation of CST police force with indigenous people and non-indigenous permanent residents, etc., remain unimplemented till today, that is, even after 27 years, due to Dhaka policy of ethnic cleansing of indigenous people and Islamic demographic invasion in CST. On the other hand, as part of their divide and rule policy, Bangladesh military formed arms group with misguided indigenous youths and various organizations with Muslim settlers and let them loose against the CST Accord. Indigenous organization activities are struggling for the proper implementation of the CST Accord, and their identity and rights are often targeted, tortured, and identified as Bangladeshi traitor, terrorists, etc., and jailed on false charges. Thus, their democratic voice is silenced with force. Media and social media are under the control of military rule. No one dares to tell the truth. Indigenous and military activities of plain areas targeted. Indigenous and minority rights activists of plain areas trying to raise their voice against the state-sponsored atrocities on their people communities are also systematically targeted. They are identified as anti-Bangladeshi, traitor, terrorist, Indian dalal, etc. They are either killed or sent to jail or on various false charges. Example, arrest and jail of Hindu minority priest Sinmoy Prabhu on 25 November 2024. Save indigenous people and religious minorities of Bangladesh. Caretaker government led by Dr. Irinus released radical Islamists of new jihadi organizations like Hizbut Tahrir, Jamatul Ansar Fil Hindal, Charkia, JMB, etc. from jail. They were jailed on various criminal charges, including terrorism during Sheikh Hasina's rule. They are persecuting indigenous people, especially Sakmas of CST, and religious minorities, especially Hindus of plain areas, with active support from Bangladeshi military establishment and other government missionaries. Urgent action appeal. We urge Delhi, through you, to diplomatic pressure and impose economic sanction on Dr. Yunus' government for, number one, proper implementation of CST Accord without further delay for restoration and peace in CST. Number two, ensuring the human rights, religious freedom, and security of indigenous people and religious minorities of Bangladesh. And number 3, proportionate reservation of quota in government posts and services and people representative bodies like Union Parishad, municipalities, and Parliament for indigenous people and religious minorities of Bangladesh. Thank you.